Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the coolest features in Planet Coaster 2, invisible paths. And I'm going to show you 3 creative ways to use them to enhance your park's theming and layout. We're kicking things off with a pirate bridge that connects 2 major lands in my park, the Unworldly Realm and Mystic Isle. And we're working on a castle in Unworldly Realms where we will use a drawbridge as a path. We're doing stairs as well, so let's get into it. Now, normally, I don't touch the pirate pieces too much. But for this one, I thought, you know what? Let's change it up a bit. So I ended up mixing pirate assets with a bit of the Viking set, some of these Yeti planks, driftwood boards, and even threw in some other pirate assets, just to get that rough, pieced together look that fits the theme. It's meant to look like it was built by necessity, patched together over time by pirates and travelers passing through. So the way I start is pretty straightforward. First, I draw the layout of the bridge using regular paths. Some does it with railings, others doesn't. In this case, I have railings turned off. But it's just to get a visual of how wide it'll be and what space I'm working with. I recommend doing this every time because it really helps to block out the shape before you start layering the theming. Once I'm happy with the shape, I go in and begin covering the path using planks. In this case, just taking these Yeti planks and laying it right over the top. Now, I don't place them perfectly one by one the entire way. I usually do the first few to get a sense of rhythm, then I literally just copy and paste chunks of them along the whole bridge to speed things up. It's a lot quicker and still gets the exact same visual result. Once that's done, then I go in and change the path to invisible. And that way you're not trying to build blindly. The invisible path feature can be found in path settings. Just scroll to the last page of your choices of path textures and you'll find it right there. Next up, it's time to make the custom railing. And of course, since it's pirate themed, I'm going with a rope railing setup. What I've done here is I created a square rope pattern, kind of like a net or rigging. You see these kinds of rope fences in a lot of nautical settings, especially on old ships or docks. I used small beams as posts, then added ropes and square grid patterns between them, and again, once I had a nice little section done, I just duplicated that along the rest of the bridge. Now underneath the bridge, I also added some basic support structures. Vertical beams tied in with rope, giving the bridge a bit more weight and believability. Nothing crazy here, just enough to make it look like it wouldn't collapse under traffic. This bridge isn't super complex compared to what we look at later in the video. It's a bit more casual, get it done style build, and that's kind of the point. It's easy to do, it's easy to theme, and can be reused across a bunch of different areas. I did end up decorating the ends a bit more to give it a finished look. On one side, I added a little triangular shaped rooftop, almost like a tiny lookout point. Then I sprinkled in some bunting. Then I used the corrugated roof to add that rusty makeshift flair. And on the far end of the bridge near the restaurant, I placed this half pirate gateway scenery piece. It kind of acts like a visual marker that you're leaving one realm and heading into another. Also, I have added the bunting going from one way to another, so we have a little bit more activity going on the bridge. A little bit more clutter, as I like to say. There's also going to be a pier and a little shanty town developing around this lake area. And I think the bridge fits right in with that whole storytelling vibe. I've got some community blueprints surrounding the build as well, which really brings the area to life and makes it feel more connected. Now, yeah, I know the bridge is a bit wide, but that was intentional. I built it imagining it would be used by a ton of guests moving between lands. So I went for a scale where like 6 or 7 people could comfortably walk across it side by side. In a real theme park, you never wanted a bottleneck between 2 major zones, right? So I applied thinking that here too. And for Planet Coaster, especially with invisible paths, you can get away with that bigger scale if you theme it well. So after ending all this off, we are kind of done with the bridge for this Mystic Isle area. But let's go over to a more complex build, a bigger build, where we actually can implement the invisible path not once, but twice. Now, as you saw in the cinematics, I'm going with a bit of a Disney-style castle mixed in with some fantasy flair to fit the Unworldly Realms. It's not meant to be cartoonish, but I wanted it to stand out to have some presence, no matter where you're standing in the land. The end result turned out to be a little chunky, which I'm totally okay with. The chunk helps with composition, especially from a distance. So while I'm putting this together, you'll see me working on the turrets, spires, windows, trim, support, all of it. Just trying to make it feel like a proper themed icon for the area. Now, it's not technically a weenie, like it doesn't pull people through the entire park, but it definitely acts like the weenie of the Unworldly Realms, kind of anchoring the entire land visually. And it gives that classic theme park structure that ties everything together, which were the goal with this build. I'm using a mix of in-game roofs and custom roof parts, merging the two to get more unique angles and curves. Some of these rooftops use pre-made pieces, while others are custom layered to give me the shape I need. I like using different ridge types and layering them slightly off-grid to make the roof silhouette pop more. Once I get the basic structure blocked out, I start adding in supports under the roof, as well as perfecting it, just to help give the whole thing a little more grounding. Through the detail phase, I throw in some grunge weathering decals, rockwork around the base, and some cracks in the walls to break it up. We're still in the Unworldly Realms after all, so even though the castle feels kind of majestic, it needs to show some wear and tear, like it's surviving in a world that's halfway cursed. You'll also notice that the area around the base is kind of eerie. We've got that corrupted, magic-heavy plaza, and everything's got this supernatural tone. But I like that contrast. Even though Unworldly Realms leans into the dark and unworldly, I think having one or two spots of light fantasy, a little more cheerful, still intact, it adds depth. It's like it's part of the land hasn't been overtaken by the curse yet, and that gives you a lot of narrative space to play with in the future. And by the way, this is actually my first ever castle built in Planet Coaster 2, and probably in Planet Coaster at all now that I think of it. So yeah, I was pretty happy with how it came out. If you guys want a slower, music-only version of the full castle speed build, no voiceover, let me know in the comment and I can totally upload that as a bonus video for you all. Okay, so now that the castle is built and we've got the surrounding area more or less in place, it's time to move on to the second invisible path build, the Drawbridge. This is the actual moment where we integrate the invisible path into the castle design itself. So like we did earlier, we're going to start the same way, by layering out the shape using a regular path. And again, that's super helpful just to block out your space, get a sense of where the structure lands and how it connects to everything. Now I'm using the Drawbridge piece from the fairytale theme and mixing it up with some Viking parts and trim elements, just to make it feel a little sturdier and less stylized. It ends up looking like a very clean structured drawbridge, not too fantasy heavy, but still grounded in the theme. And once I've placed the visuals I need, the bridge pieces, the railing, all that stuff, I then replace the original path again with the invisible one. And you'll see how that instantly removes the built-in curves and support system. It's such a simple technique, but it makes a huge difference in how your themed environments come together. You're not boxed in by the game's automatic support pieces. You can just build freely on top. Also, just a quick note. The trick works for queues too. Unfortunately, I don't have any rides in this area yet where I could demonstrate it for you. But you just know it's the same principle. Lay out your queue with railings, theme around it, then swap it out with the invisible queue path. Super clean. After that, I move on and build this little circular lookout platform that connects next to the drawbridge and the bridge leading to the castle. I thought this would be a cool opportunity to break up the symmetry and give guests something to walk around. Even use it as a photo op zone or scenic set piece. I love adding these little flourishes to make the environment feel more layered and alive. You know, it's an important part of theme park building. Now we're heading into the third and final invisible path method in this video. The stairway, as I like to call it. So what I've done here is I built a staircase that gets narrower the higher you go. It starts a bit wider at the base, then gradually slims down as it gets closer to the castle, just for the sake of composition and visual hierarchy. And yeah, guests won't technically be able to walk edge to edge on it because of the slope narrowing, but that's not the point. It's all about the illusion, and this one really nails that effect. If you angle the path well and theme it correctly, you'll get this natural sense of movement and scale. The stairs are detailed using plaster trims, stone edges, and some clean layer pieces to make it all fit together. Once again, I start with a normal path layout, then go in and replace it with the invisible path once all theming is in place. It removes the borders and makes the whole staircase feel like a real part of the environment. the castle. So yeah, that's really quick, compact method for using invisible path for staircases. Great for castles, temples, or even modern areas if you tweak the style. So now we've gone through 3 different ways to use invisible paths in your builds. We've done a white pirate bridge, a fantasy castle drawbridge, and a custom staircase, all fully themed, clean, and functional for guests. This is a feature we've been hoping for since Planet Coaster 1, and think the implementation here in Planet Coaster 2 opens up a lot of creative potential. We're no longer stuck with those default support or curbs. You can just build whatever makes sense for your world. And I'm super excited to see how the community uses this in the long term. From what we saw in the Frontier Unlock stream earlier this week, and just the way the updates have been rolling, it feels like there's a lot more good stuff on the way for Planet Coaster 2. Oh, and before we wrap things up, I also added a couple more details around the castle that I think are worth pointing out. You'll notice there's a rock wall wrapping around part of the castle base, not just for decoration, but also to help merge in the surrounding terrain. It gives the whole thing a more finished silhouette and helps anchor the castle visually in the land. And on the left side, I added a wheelchair accessible ramp, which I think is super important. Let's be real. The staircases we've built here are pretty dreadful if you're in a wheelchair or have mobility issues. So I wanted to make sure there was still a practical and thoughtful path leading into the castle from the ground level. It's a small thing, and it adds a touch of realism and inclusivity, even if it's just symbolic in-game. If you found this tutorial helpful, or if you're just excited about what invisible paths can bring to your own builds, do me a favor and drop a like on the video. If you want more tutorials like this, or if you want to see the full castle build as a relaxed speed build video, let me know in the comments below. That wraps up this look at 3 ways you can use invisible paths in Planet Coaster 2. From pirate bridges to fairytale drawbridges and eerie castle stairs, the goal here was to show how flexible this tool is when combined with custom theming and a bit of creativity. And of course, if you're new around here, or you just haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe button. I got a lot more Planet Coaster 2 content coming your way, and you won't want to miss it. Bye bye!